Bucks are 8 games back while posting a thoroughly mediocre 17-16 road record. Lost to the Lakers but beat the Clippers. So who will be left standing for predictions week? We start with you, bro.
My pick in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Celtics. Now, I think what will intrigue people is who they beat in the conference
that's what I'm interested in.
It's only right that they beat, as they march to the finals, the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. This will be the rubber match. They've faced each other the last 2 years in the conference finals, both 7 games. Each team's won 1. I think Boston gets them this year. Now, I talked about the Celtics' flaws last week. You know, I think sometimes they rely a little too much on the 3. Defensively, they can do it all. We know they're top 2 in both offense and defense. They can block shots. They got good perimeter defenders. And I think offensively, I think they're going to look. They lost 2 games, which is rare last week, 2 in a row. I think they're going to look at some of their – I know Joe Mazzulla's going to keep shooting the 3, which is fine because they shoot it well. But when it's not there, all I'm saying to them is take some other stuff. Don't be afraid to do some other things. Get to the bucket, get to the foul line, post somebody up with the mismatch. And I think they will start to do some of that. So I like Boston. They've been the best team by a mile in the East this year, so I'm going with the Celtics.
Can I ask you one follow-up before I give mine? I understand that we do all these, and we know injuries can throw a wrench in them. But there are certain teams or players you're more concerned about injury-wise than others. Does the fact that the Celtics they have a great starting 5, not a lot of depth, certainly not a lot of big man depth, and they are getting a great season and a healthy season out of Kristaps.
Right.
Does that concern you at all that that they are a team, even though we look at them as deep because of their starting 5, that after him it's like Al Horford, and Horford is obviously holding on to the end part of his career? How much does that concern?
No, I don't think Milwaukee's incredibly deep.
Sure.
Miami, obviously, they can go deep.
But not as much of an injury risk as KP has had.
If he gets hurt, I mean, obviously that's a problem. You're right. That's been his problem throughout his career. But I think he'll be able to stay healthy. And Milwaukee, look, Doc Rivers hasn't been past the second round since 2012.
Sure.
All right, or 2011, 2012.
So listen, I'm going with the 2 teams that have been the 2 best teams in the East since LeBron James left the conference, and that is the Milwaukee Bucks over the Miami Heat.
Wow.
And I understand that people like to kind of trick themselves into thinking that this little mini era of Celtics basketball has been, as good as it can be without a championship. But it hasn't been. The Heat's has been. But the Celtics have not, and we can show it to you, which is these 3 teams over the last 4 postseasons, this year, from the 2019-20 season to now. So the Heat have the most playoff wins. The Heat have the most playoff series. The Heat have the most conference finals appearances. The Heat have the most NBA finals appearances of anyone in the East. Now, the Celtics have the second most, but Milwaukee's 1 title, the Celtics would trade all that other stuff for what Milwaukee's 1 title run. And so I think Milwaukee is right now being a victim of expectations. In that because the day that they traded, one of the reasons we are doing predictions a week right now to peel back as well, to say the 4th wall? Is that what it is?
You don't peel it back.
What do you do?
You kind of pull back the
curtain,
break the 4th wall.
Break the 4th wall. I knew I was going to get it wrong.
Well, see how you have 3 walls?
Yeah, exactly.
The 4th wall is the camera.
Okay, got it. Thank you,
look
buddy.
at the camera and be like, hey.
Listen, that's what they taught you in TV school.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking.
We didn't do that in radio school.
Sorry.
But one of the reasons we're doing this now is because right after the Bucks traded for Dame, we were like, we can't do a picks thing. We're all going to pick Milwaukee.
We're Dame crazy.
And so I think because those were the expectations, and then even though they had a good record, they struggled some. They fired their coach. It seemed weird. Giannis is angry about a game ball. We've lost the fact that Giannis is at worst the second best player in basketball and maybe having the best year of his career. Dame seems to be a little more comfortable post-Doc, and there's a lot of good things. And the Heat, I just like the Heat in a series against Boston.
You love the Heat.
I just do like the Heat in a series.
Can I give you mine, Brew? So I'll also take the Celtics because I love point differential, and they've got the 5th highest point differential of all time.
Yeah.
So that makes you think, all right. Then no one's picking the Sixers. Embiid was on a total tear. He could come back as early as the end of this month. I like Nick Nurse a lot. I like Kyle Lowry and Buddy Hield, little midseason acquisitions. I like Maxey. I like the idea of the reigning MVP getting over the hump to the point where I might take the Celtics over the Sixers with a huge asterisk, reserving the right to flip it.
No.
I'm not going to take the Heat, or I'm not going to take the Knicks, or I'm not going to take the Cavs, but I might pick Sixers over Celtics. I'm just saying.
No, it's not a thing.
No, it's with an asterisk.
Yeah, it's not a thing.
Well, look, here's what
talk
I'll
to
give you,
Josh.
Wilds. You wonder, because Embiid's problem, we've talked about his decline in production in the playoffs.
If this helps.
A lot of it's been because he does, even if he plays, he usually misses a
so
couple
that's
games.
that's
and if he
interesting.
plays, he's 80% or
it's like an
something.
intermission.
So maybe if he comes back healthy, that would be
my
interesting.
concern would be that, a guy his size, with his lower body issues, it's almost impossible. It's not like people are like, oh, why isn't he in better shape? And the answer is the guy can only do so much running. You know what I mean? With his frame,
Right.
I worry that when he comes back, he's not going to be in great shape. Not because he's been being lazy, because he's 7'2" and 300 pounds and can't do the cardio that Wilds does in the No Excuses Power Plan.
That's just strength.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.